Yeah. Hi guys.
Hi.
Uh, hey Davis, how's it, man?
Going is good. For you?
Not too bad, not too bad. You look like you are using a gamer's chair.
Yes. You have to be comfortable.
Yeah. And yeah, clearly I am not as comfortable. But yeah, one day I will graduate, to a chair like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are you guys doing? I see some people have joined. I'm seeing, yeah. Linda Gushle, you can just turn on your camera and say hi to everyone.
Hi. Can you guys see me?
Yeah, we can see you.
Yes, yeah.
I can't see myself.
We can see.
It's weird that I can't see myself, but okay.
Well,
Hi everyone.
You can quickly introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and which company do you work for.
Okay, I'm Linda Gushe. I'm a business analyst. I work for F&B. Just recently stumbled upon Mputume's videos on YouTube. And I thought these are interesting conversations to have. Definitely something that I'd like to see on like South African media. Like, yeah. So I was like, okay, this will be nice to be part of. So I'm here.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I see some people are still joining, and I'm trying to see. I think everyone should be here.
Yeah, just last few things.
Okay,
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. Yeah, so no, thanks a lot, Linda Gushle. Hopefully you will bring more of your, F&B guys, and it will be great to have someone from F&B to present. So please share those news. It will be great to have someone there. And yeah, I mean, the aim is to basically connect, inspire and build an African design community, and, to also share the knowledge with people that we work with, closely, business analysts and developers, testers, product owners, and the business stakeholders that we work with. And yeah, so the main aim is to, share inspiration that you find. It could be based on building architecture, car design, fashion design, etc. As we all see that, the world of design is evolving, and the arts community is tapping into the space, and they come in and they bring their knowledge and expertise to enhance the experience for our customers. So yeah, so today we've got Davis Mulyango from Kenya, and yeah, he's going to talk about the 5 whys in design thinking. Yeah, so yeah, I'm looking forward to the session, and hopefully we'll engage, learn something, and have fun in this session. Yeah, so Davis, I'm gonna hand it over to you in your comfortable chair.
Thank you. Hi, but let me start by saying hi to everyone. Welcome. I think this is my first knowledge sharing session, so first time for everything, I guess. Thank you, Mputumi, for that introduction. As you mentioned, my name is Davis Mulyango. My friends call me Das. I've been doing UX design for the last 8 years. And something I've picked up along the way is this technique for the 5 whys in design thinking. And I'm going to share with you a few thoughts on how you can use it, in your day-to-day activities. So the agenda today is we're going to look at what are the 5 whys. We are going to dig deep to the root cause with the 5 whys. I'm going to tell you why symptoms can be misleading. And then we are going to look at the 5 whys in the design process itself, an overview of the 5 whys method. And then I'm going to show you how to use the 5 whys method to find root cause of problems. And then we can, if we have time, we can do a sample exercise. And then I can end with a few tips on how you can conduct these exercises on your own or with your teams. So what are the 5 whys? To ask why something happened is natural, and it's an effective way to uncover a problem. be it high bounce rate on our website, a marketplace failure, or anything else that you may want to know about users. However, cause and effect chains can be long and complex. A simple example is when you're late for a meeting at work early in the morning, and your colleagues ask you why you late, and you say there was traffic. Someone can go and ask you, okay, why didn't you leave earlier? And then you go ahead and say, well, I overslept. Why did you oversleep? I didn't hear my alarm. Why did you hear your alarm? Did you set it? Things like that. So you understand that there's the more the number of removes or steps in a cause and effect chain, the more effort and insight will take you to work your way back to actually what started the whole sequence of events that ultimately resulted in the problem that you're facing at the moment. So many problems that users encounter are symptoms of deeper issues. Therefore, to solve a problem effectively, so that it doesn't reoccur, you need to drill down to identify the underlying cause. So Sakichi Toyota, who is the founder of Toyota Motor Company, one of the largest car manufacturers, came up with this technique, and here's a simple way of doing this. To use it, you simply start with the problem you're facing, and then keep asking why until you discover the root cause. And an important thing to note here is the 5 whys uses countermeasures rather than solutions. Yeah, when you're using a 5 why, is not about like coming up with it's a countermeasure. A countermeasure is an action or set of actions that seeks to prevent the problem from arising again. Whereas a solution is just used to deal with the symptoms. So you don't want to address the symptoms, you want to deal with the root cause. So as such, countermeasures are more robust and would more likely prevent the problem from recurring. And that's a very key thing to when you're looking at the 5 whys. So how do you dig deep to the root cause with the 5 whys? Like I said, Toyota has a famous example that illustrates the simple nature but immense power of this technique. So in their assembly lines, they had this welding robot. And when the robot stops, you just ask, why did the robot stop, right? And a simple answer here could be the circuit overloaded, making the fuse blow. Okay, if you're not using the 5 whys, maybe someone might just say, okay, let's replace the fuse. But then you're just dealing with the symptom. You are not looking to go deeper and find out why this fuse is blowing so that you can address that underlying root cause. So it's very important to ask the second why. Why did the fuse blow? And then here now you get far deeper into the problem, and you start understanding like, hey, there was insufficient lubrication on their bearings, so they locked up. Okay, why did they lock up? Because you don't want to stop at point 2, so you want to go further. The 3 is it locked up because the oil pump on the robot wasn't circulating enough oil.
Yeah. Yes. So Davis, I'm just curious to know from everyone, are you guys familiar with this process? Have you at least like maybe watched a video about how cars are produced in these factories?
No.
Yeah, hello.
Oh no, my answer was no. I haven't watched anything similar to this.
Okay, cool. Keen to hear if there's anyone, just so to at least understand if people have got the context. And I mean, look, I don't think you will lose the essence of the conversation if you haven't, but I'm just curious to know, just so that I can see if people can easily relate to this example. Miponi?
No, I have not watched any videos on much
Okay,
about
cool.
it. Yeah.
That's fine. Maybe, yeah, anyone?
On my side, what I've just watched was more like high level, like from what the car design is like and then the specs and how it runs. So they don't get too much into detail about the what are the processes from the molding and stuff like that. I haven't watched that part, but I've watched like how they design it and why they like some of the features they add and why they add them. And then that's what I've watched so far as car manufacturing stuff and designing.
Okay, cool. No, that's fine. Yeah, maybe you can just take a couple of seconds, Davis, just to give everyone a bit of context, and then you can dive deep into your 5 whys.
Well, I think I've talked about the need to find the root cause to the problem and not just solve the symptoms. So, which I'm not saying that it's not important to solve the symptoms. You don't want that to stay around, right? But we also need to get rid of the underlying cause. Otherwise, you'll come back again and the symptoms will repeat. So basically, with the 5 whys, when something goes wrong on the assembly line, let's say your job is to fasten the water pump as the engine comes by on the assembly line, and they discover later down that line that the water pump wasn't fastened properly. So what can you do? In certain situations, your manager will just say, fasten it correctly and leave it at that, and won't investigate further any underlying problems. So, but that is fixing the symptom. But if the Japanese or the guys at Toyota will say, let's ask why it wasn't fastened properly. So they'll ask why, and they'll discover maybe where it was assembled, or the assembly, and the engine comes by, and the person sees the engine coming, picks up the water pump, and fastens it on. Okay, but that person didn't do it right. Why? So you look at the bigger context. In this factory, maybe in the assembly line, there are different engine types, and these different engine types have different water pumps, and these different water pumps require different tools to be passed. You might need a different kind of tool for each one of these engines, right? So you go, okay, so if you're the guy in charge of that assembly line, how do we make sure these people fasten this thing correctly? Because maybe now you've discovered the root cause was someone picked up the wrong tool and used it to fasten the water pump to the engine, and that didn't work out. So you say, maybe we should paint, as a solution now, you paint the water pump to different colors to match the color of the engine. And then you also paint the tool to match the water pump. So if I'm picking red, I know this is for the red water pump, and this red water pump matches the engine that is also painted red. And then you eliminate that problem from happening again. So in context, that's how you think of the 5 whys. It's just not the high level, they fasten it correctly, but how can we improve that user experience so it doesn't happen again? I don't know if that answers for you, Rumi, but yeah.
No, sure, awesome. No, thanks, man. Thanks.
Okay. So back to this example, I think I was just on this is where now it's now a welding robot, and they've discovered the pump was not circulating enough oil. The reason was it was clogged, and why there was no filter. Again, at this point, you can go back to the drawing board and say, hey, we need to add filters to our robots so that we stop this issue of circuit overload and fuses blowing. But you get to understand the gist. Like when you look at a high level, you're not solving the underlying problem, you're just solving a symptom. So it's important to go deeper and find out the underlying cause, which leads us nicely into our next point, why symptoms can be misleading. And in UX design, particularly in service design, system failures can be more intricate than the Toyota example, because that is now, we are talking about an assembly, right? In user design, there are more nuances, right? Why is the user not able to log in? Why are we not getting more subscription to our newsletters? And users are humans who act in complex contexts. Their behaviors and reasons for this can be difficult to decipher, especially with so many channels and parts of the user journey that you need to examine. So designers who want to effectively change in solving complex global level problems need to get beneath the symptoms and apparent causes to discover and address what's really going on. Because if you don't solve the right problem and work with the root cause, the symptom will just keep coming back. And I think the example I just gave earlier really addresses this. And how does the 5 whys fit into the design process, right? And it's, for me, the way I look at it is early on, when you need to understand the problem that the users are facing or your stakeholders, that's when the 5 whys becomes very important. You can use it, one, to determine what's important from the users, customers, and stakeholders' viewpoint. You can use it to explore why users or customers, stakeholders think, feel, and do what they do. And you can also use it to analyze information that is coming in to you. So that's how you can use 5 whys in the design process. Here's a simple,
sorry, Davis. Just go back. So Linda Kushle, I'm just curious to hear from a business analyst perspective, because we often work, we do work very, very closely with business analysts. And even if you haven't, in your own role as a business analyst, how have you used this 5 whys? They don't necessarily have to be like the 5 whys, right? It's just really a matter of probing, right, to get to the bottom of the problem. And I'm quite keen just to hear from you in terms of your approach within your space as a senior business analyst.
Is that question to me?
No, Lindo Kuhle. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, cool. Yeah, so the process is very familiar to me. I did industrial engineering in school, so they taught this a lot. So I'm really keen to see actually how does it link to UX design. I never imagined it, but I do use the video. Sorry, I'll do that. Give me a minute. Okay, cool. So I do use it time and again when, for example, okay, as a business analyst, you're told, okay, here's a problem. This is what we want to try and do as the business. Please come up with the requirement specification. So before you go on to say, I'm going to document these requirements for business in order maybe for us to introduce the system, what you would normally do is to ask, why do we need the system? What is wrong with the current system? Is it broken anyway? So you just do that probing. It's actually really a useful method, especially when you're doing requirements gathering and you're talking to different stakeholders. And, when you're told that this is a problem, you need to write the requirements. People are just very high level. So you really need to probe and ask questions to say, okay, yes, I understand the new system. You wanted to do this and this, but what is the problem with the current one? Why is it not working? So yeah, I do use that method quite often, but sometimes you forget, it's just like in those meetings and you just go with the flow with what people are saying. But yeah, it's really important to remember these principles and actually ask these questions.
Okay, cool. That's fine. No, thanks. Yeah, I see that in the chat you're saying you're very interested to see how they link to the UX design. And
yes,
I hope Davis is gonna take us there. Sure. No,
awesome.
thanks, Davis. I don't know. Do you guys have got any questions? Okay, if not, please shoot, Davis.
Yeah, there's a very direct correlation with this scheme, unfortunately. The same way you ask why, 5 whys can also be a valuable aid in design thinking. So when you conduct user research, the answers you can get by asking why repeatedly can really arm your design team with insights from users. And this, you can use these insights to leverage. You can leverage these insights to identify the real or underlying problem, and then iteratively gear your iteration efforts more accurately around it. So a good example is, before I get to how you use it in UX design, just allow me to get here number one, how you use it to find the root cause in design thinking. Yeah. So the 5 whys is useful, number one, in the empathizing stage of the design thinking. When you want to walk the journey in your user's shoes, right? When you're gathering information so that you can proceed to define the problem that you want to address. So and it's simple. Number one, you base the first question on the apparent end results, form the second question on the answer to that, then form the third question to the answer to the second question, form the fourth question to the answer to the third, fifth to the fourth. I mean, that's easier said than done, and that's why I have this example exercise where we can now actually try and walk this journey together and see how can we use the 5 whys in a UX context to find the root cause. So here I have a simple sample exercise, not as many customers. It's a hypothetical situation. So let's say you've launched a new website and you want people to subscribe to your website's newsletter, but you find out later on that not many customers are subscribing to the website's newsletter after the design has changed. So how do you go about finding the root problem? This is a sample exercise, but I'm open to a real problem we are facing. And if someone can propose one, we can replace this with that. Otherwise, you can proceed with this, and I can show you how we can find the root cause with this.
Yeah.
What do we stick with this, or do we find, or does someone propose a problem they're facing their users, and we go with that?
If there's anything, guys, please jump in. Nyagalo, Tsepo. Amrita.
I guess we don't have any
Okay.
issues.
No, that's fine. Yeah, you can continue with this one.
So yeah, so because it's hypothetical, I will have spoken to fake users. So why are we not getting many customers subscribing to the website's newsletter after the designers change? So after talking to user, we find out the first why is most of them click the subscription related button to close it within 2 seconds after it appears. Right? So yeah, so because it's hypothetical, I will have spoken to fake users. So why are we not getting many customers subscribing to the website?
Sorry, Miracle, you sound a bit far, man. Do you mind if you can just maybe try to get closer to your mic?
Okay. I think someone is talking in the back. Okay. Yes, good afternoon. Hello. Good afternoon.
Yeah. Yes. So guys, if you are on the YouTube channel, and yeah, please just mute, because we are live streaming, and that's why that is likely to be the cause. But yeah, I think we're fine now. So please, Miracle, shoot.
Okay, I should introduce myself, right?
Yes, please do so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. My name is Miracle, and I'm a senior product designer, working with two companies on contracts too. Yeah. So I'm delighted to be here, and I hope to learn a lot from you guys.
Sure. Thanks, Miracle. Which country are you from?
Yes, I'm from Nigeria. Yeah.
Nigeria. Okay, cool. Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Sure. No, thanks a lot. Yeah, please, engage with us if you've got questions. Please jump in.
All right.
Yeah, and also, yeah, I mean, I'm planning to. We had a speaker from Nigeria last week. Yeah. So I mean, we can talk offline and see, because we want to bring like different topics from different people in different countries.
Okay, no problem at all.
Sure, man. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much.
Sure, thanks. Yeah, please continue with your website newsletter, Davis.
All right.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, this is a sample exercise. Let me just start from the top quickly. So they've launched a new design for subscription on their website, and they have just realized that not many customers are subscribing to the website newsletter after the design has changed. They ask their users why, and they realize most of them close the subscription related button 2 seconds within after it appears, which is a pop-up. So guys are just like, I'm going to close this and go about looking for the content that I was looking for. So they ask, why are people closing this pop-up, right? Because you want to know why. And then they realize it's because they're used to seeing subscription prompting pop-ups all the time in websites, right? So the automatic response is just to quickly close that button. And then why are they closing? Like I said, the internet is full of this. Why is it full of this? Users are saying, well, it's because organizations have grown used to deploying this with an automatic opt-in dark pattern for users to find it harder not to subscribe. Why? Again, you ask, and the final why is because automatic opt-out buttons or allowing users to freely think about subscription, i.e. without guiding them with a design pattern, means fewer subscription. And that's how you end up to the root cause. So who can take a guess what the designer did wrong here?
Sorry, man, please repeat your question.
Yeah, after getting through the 5 whys and the root cause, what do you think was the mistake that the designer did in implementing this new subscription design?
Okay, I'll be happy to hear anyone's thoughts. There's no right or wrong answer. Yeah, I'll be quite keen. I think it's important just to understand what people understand and respond accordingly. Miracle, are you talking? Okay, cool. That's fine. No,
I didn't get the question that was asked. Just coming in, I'm trying to follow through exactly what's going on. Yes, I don't know if yeah.
So considering the context that I've just laid out, there is a new design to how they want users to subscribe to their newsletters. So it's a pop-up on the page that allows users to subscribe to the newsletter, but they expected more customers to subscribe to the newsletter with this new design. But with closer examination of the 5 whys, they realize users are just quickly closing that pop-up because they're used to seeing pop-ups on different websites, and different websites are using like this dark pattern of opting in to find, so that users find it harder not to subscribe. Because lastly, automatic opt-out buttons or allowing users to freely think about newsletter subscriptions without guiding them with a design pattern means fewer subscriptions. That is, 5 is where the root cause is. So I'm asking, having been the researcher on this project and looking at these 5 whys, what do you think the designer did wrong to end up with not enough people subscribing to the newsletter?
Didn't they use a dark pattern that doesn't guide the user? Or maybe wrong?
Yes, that's it. Yeah, close enough. Yeah. You're very. Anyone else? Yeah.
Tepo, I'm just seeing your face. Simpiwa, any thoughts?
I've got one.
Sure,
What if
sure.
they strayed away from the voice or the company branding, so it looks totally unfamiliar to the user?
Interesting, but not quite. I don't think that's what's coming out from these 5 whys, but I mean, that's a nice try. Someone else wants to venture?
I think maybe another problem is they used a pop-up, which is what users are already dismissing when they see. So maybe they could have.
Yeah.
Okay, I can say that sometimes it's okay to follow external consistencies with respect to allowing yourself to work with what's already existing. Of course, pop-ups are already everywhere. However, one of the major issues with something like this is also being able to understand how what is being used consistently across board, how users respond to them. So I think for the design pattern, the particular designer did it actually has not, he didn't find out well enough the reaction of users to this particular kind of design pattern. So he just went with designing with pop-ups, and so it's easy for every user like me to just come, click it, and just close it. Even cookies too, I do this into cookies. So I don't know, maybe creating another user experience for that particular kind of instance would be much better.
Yeah. That's a good one. Maybe 1 or 2 more.
Cool, that's fine. Yeah, thanks, Miracle. Yeah, otherwise you can jump in, Davis. I'm not seeing anyone. Is there anyone else that wants to share their thinking?
Yeah. So if there's no one, yeah. So basically, number 1 here is the designer fails to use the automatic opt-in design pattern. But you can start to see like how you can go back within your design team and with this kind of information and start to now to rethink, how do we approach this again? How do we show the value of subscribing, right? How do we make the user, start to think like, hey, maybe there's value to me subscribing here to this newsletter, and you have to guide them. Without guidance, they'll just, you can't expect users to just see a pop-up and say subscribe, put the email. You have to guide them on a journey of why it's important for them to subscribe, what is their benefit, and what do they stand to gain. And that's how to look at it. I hope this answers Lindo. How do you say that name? I'm sorry. Lindo Kule. As a question how you can use now. Yeah, how you can use 5 whys in design thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
So before I close out with so last thing is tips.
Yeah.
I know I've seen
Sorry, Davis.
a lot. Yeah.
Could you please go back, right? Just one slide.
Okay.
Yes. So the couple of things that I want to share from my side, right? So there's the technique itself, right? Because if we imagine this as a funnel, you know, you have number of possibilities, you know, and you want to basically do this, right? And as you go from like asking like, you know, open-ended questions with number of possibilities in terms of the responses, right? It's very important to understand and listen and be attentive, because your follow-up question might, you know, lead you somewhere. You might easily take an off-ramp, right? And realize that actually as you're drilling down, right, with your whys, you are not getting a clear response, because you as a designer, you should be able to get a clearer response that should help you to make a confident design decision. So that you know, actually, you know what, I think I've asked the right questions, I've gotten the right response, and I got to the bottom of this, right? And like I'm quite keen just to hear from the people, you know, on the call, how they've used this technique, because I mean, if I look at the entire design delivery process, right? I remember Linda Kushler mentioned, you know, how she uses this approach. And in our design delivery process as designers, you know, we often talk about the understand phase, which is a phase where we understand, you know, the requirements from business, understand, you know, the expectation from customers, and understand, you know, the technical capability, right? And those like whys are very important, you know, to be asked, you know, for the three audience, which is the business, the customer, and the technical capability, right? And then going into your ideation phase and looking at how we even like, you know, conduct usability testing. And I'm thinking like I want to zoom into the usability testing, you know, techniques that we use. And because this is an opportunity where people, when they probe, they just ask questions, and it's easy for designers to move on, right? Without like really understanding and getting like rich insights during the usability testing. So I'm quite keen to hear, for those who've done usability testing, how do you feel this technique will be useful?
I think from a usability testing perspective, this is very important, like knowing how to ask these questions, because most of the time you want to know exactly why users are performing certain actions. And also when they are struggling with something, you want to know why and how they would do it. So just observing them, sometimes you don't even need to hear something from them. You can actually ask them, why did you do, I saw you doing something like that. Why did you do that? And that could actually inform you on their mental model and how they're thinking about the design. So yeah, that's how I think it could help.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Tsepo. Anyone else? I'm not sure if Kenlwe, if you fixed your mic on your side. Karabo? Okay, sorry, Kenlwe, are you there? Okay. We can't hear you. Yeah, you can just drop your comment in the chat. I will read it for you. Lwazi, go do anything that you want to share from your side?
Okay, can I share something?
Sure. Yeah, please jump in.
All right. So for me, understanding users' reaction with respect to why they do the things they do, the user psychology is important, because at the end of the day, it is the user that's the
Okay, guys, I'm just admitting everyone back because of the time limit on Zoom. Because of the yeah, I'm not sure if Miracle, okay, I'm not seeing Miracle yet, so as soon as give me a moment. Okay, cool, he's back. Okay, yeah, just give me a moment.
okay. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, please go ahead, Miracle. Yeah, I think everyone is back.
Okay, yeah, so I was saying that understanding the user psychology with respect to why they do the things they do or why they react in a certain way, it's actually important for every product, because at the end of the day, every product is expected to solve problems, and then a product should not create another pain point for the user. So going with usability testing, user research, and all that is actually very key to the success of every product in the market, especially as it borders around the business model for every particular product. Of course, every product fits into a business model at the end of the day. And of course, definitely, users are the ones that will patronize that business model to make it successful in the end, rather.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Tsepo, I'm quite keen just to hear from you, right? If you didn't ask, there's like 5 whys. I mean, they don't have to be 5, but what opportunities do you think you've missed if you just, during usability testing, you just didn't probe, you just asked the question and moved on? And what do you think you also do differently going forward?
Yeah, I think there was many missed opportunities in the past, especially in the beginning stages when we were introduced to user testing. And at that point, I didn't understand that actually I don't have to just ask a couple of questions and then move on. It's actually more than just asking what I wrote in the script. It's more about finding out why they do the interactions that they do, to say, why did you think it should be like that? Why did you do it like that? Whatever that they do, their reaction, and whenever they tell me what they expected, I should also ask why they expected that type of design. So I think that's where I missed it. And moving forward, I think it's more about asking them why so that I understand better.
Okay, cool. Sure, thanks. Amrita? I'm quite keen to hear your thinking.
I think also, yes, prompting is one good way of conducting usability testing, but also just letting the user talk, because sometimes we as designers, when we probe and we get the answer, we might stop them and move on to the next, but maybe just waiting for the user to continue, they might pause, they might think a bit more and actually reveal much more than what you might be expecting, or what you might have never even expected to hear from them. So sometimes just that pause and just letting them ponder and discuss and describe more on why they feel a specific way, or why they do things the way they do, just would help us get more insights. And it could also answer our 5 whys.
Okay, sure. I mean, that's a great valid point, right? And to find that balance, it takes time, right? Because you need to assess what they say is worth like you spending more of your time listening to them, right? And because you can kind of sense the direction that they're going, right? And that takes a bit of like skill and also experience, right? And yeah, because there are two things, right? The question is, well, probably more, did you get enough information from what they're sharing? Can you probe more? Because if you feel like there's more, right, you need to be able to assess that. And also, when you go deep, right, you want to get to the level where you feel like, because remember, at the end of the day, you want to get rich insights that will help you to inform your design decisions. And beyond just making the design decisions is to also get a good understanding of their mental model, right? So that at least right, okay, this is how customers expect, right? And this is their behavior. This is how their behavior has changed, right? So that at least fundamentally if you're taking the right direction or not, right? And yeah, and then there's also having the opportunity to say, let me not jump into solution mode, right? Because a lot of the times, I mean, I have observed designers asking questions that they've prepared, to uncover their mental model, and also the the eagerness to jump straight into like, sharing scenarios so that they can test their designs, right? Because if you don't, by the time you get to show your designs during usability testing, and if you don't have a sense of how the participant will perceive your designs, then you haven't done a great job in terms of probing. And for me, that's always like, the measure of how well I've done in terms of probing, because if I don't have an idea at all how this person will react, right? If I can't even like anticipate if this will be a great experience for them or not, that means I haven't understood them well enough, right? I haven't understood, what would be great for them, what would work for them, or what has worked for them, right? And yeah, so that is why I'm like stretching this point, is that these like 5 whys, right? Like they like I don't like myself like stretch like the number 5, right? But the opportunity to say I can always go deeper, right? Because I appreciate the quality of the feedback that I get, right? It's a great opportunity for us, right? And I saw that there's a response also from Linda Kuhle. Could you please just articulate your point and elaborate a bit? Because you're talking about the risk of solving the wrong problem if you only answer once.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add on the question I think you asked Tepo about like how has his experience been. I mean, if you don't continue asking. So I think if you only ask the question once and you take the answer that they give you, you're probably taking the symptom, right? So you're probably going to be solving for the symptom and not the actual problem, which is the root cause of why your problem exists.
Yeah. So what you've said is so valuable, and sometimes it happens quite a lot, you know, when you ask yourself, right, am I covering the wound? You know, because a baby can go to a park and they can keep coming back and say, hey, I'm bleeding, daddy, you know, help me, you know, and you know, oh no, grab a bandage, you know, and then you cover the hand. Next day, same thing happens, right? And then you cover, you know, their hand. But if you actually probe to understand what is the root cause, or maybe their glasses, you know, in the park, instead of like you covering the wounds, you can actually, you know, get to the bottom of this. And I mean, I'm sure a lot of us can reflect on this. And what you said is so powerful, because designers love to design.
Yeah, it's exciting.
You know, yeah, like it's exciting to jump into Figma and start, like, you know, doing stuff and like producing concepts and like, yeah, I think I can add this and remove this, right? But the 5 whys of in design thinking, right? It's really about asking ourselves, right, how well have we understood the problem? How well have we understood, you know, the technical capability? How well have we understood, you know, what the customers are looking for? How well have we understood what the businesses are, you know, asking for, right? And it's also an opportunity for us to be able to influence the direction, right? Before we dive into solution mode. Anyways, let me keep quiet and shut up. And I'm quite keen. I don't know if there's anyone that wants to you know, share something before we dive into the tips. Nyakalo Simpiwo Karabo, hello, are you guys all good?
All good, nothing to add on my side.
Sure, cool.
All good from my side as well.
Sure, cool, man. Okay, cool. Yeah, please, Davis, continue.
Yeah, so thank you. So the tips really pretty much cover, I think, what we've just been talking about here, where we're saying a first tip at least is it doesn't have to be why. I know we've been saying why a lot, but we're in the natural context of a conversation, you know, talking to a user, there are other ways to probe. Like you can say, what do you think made that happen? How come you made that decision? You know, you can use more human language, like to evoke or to get deeper behind the scenes with the user. And then it's not about like asking 5 or 3 or 6 or like limiting. It's just you keep asking until you get to the root cause. Why users feel or behave a certain way. So if they say, because I felt like doing that, try to prompt them to evaluate their statement without annoying them. Just try to be more inquisitive. Try to be, you know, to ask more. And then you can ask fewer questions. I mean, you can ask 3 questions and you get to the root problem, or sometimes you need 7. So just whatever works. Every context is different, but just keep that in mind. And then always ask why, even if you think you know the answer that the user is going to give you, because you may be surprised with what insights you can evoke. So let's not be quick to jump into the solution. Just let's keep asking. Let the user tell you what they're thinking. And this has been something that even in my experience, you always end up with different insights than what you expected. And this is something I urge everyone to always do. Even if you think you know the answer, just keep asking why. And that's where I think I'll end it with. I mean, thank you for having me. That's it for me. Back to you, Putumi, to wrap it up.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I don't know if there's anyone that wants to like add something. Miracle, are you good?
Yes, I am good, sir.
Sure, cool, man. Lwazi, I'm not sure if your mic is working. I'm not. Are you there?
Hi, sorry, finally got it working. Yeah, I'm good on my side. I think that's very insightful also to understand what users need and want, and also to kind of from your side as the researcher to know how to get answers from users as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, yeah, Lwazi, she's from the Creative Academy, and yeah, I know you're a student, but it's very important for us like to share our thinking at all levels, and because what we know today, you know, is going to change tomorrow, and you, Lwazi, you are part of that change, right? As we all know that, you know, design is evolving, you know, customer behavior is evolving, and we need to find, you know, better ways and new ways of doing things. And yeah, so Lwazi, I want you to be able to freely voice your opinion, freely ask questions, so that we can understand, you know, what the people of your age are thinking, and so that we can also challenge ourselves in terms of, you know, how we approach you know, the design challenges that we have, right? So yeah, having said that, yeah, thanks a lot, Davis. I think there's a lot that we can reflect on, you know, in terms of our approach, you know, how much, you know, effort do we put into, you know, asking the right questions, because it's not just about like asking, you know, why a few times, right? Having like, you know, a good quality questions that will get you, you know, that will get you a solid feedback, right? And also having an opportunity to, you know, allow a customer, you know, to Amrita's point, right, to share their thinking. And because sometimes what happens is that if you don't give them an opportunity to share their thinking, right, you miss an opportunity to understand their perspective. And sometimes there is like variable feedback that you can get, but that variable feedback won't necessarily, you know, come from the questions, you know, that you ask. And often people want to, you know, share their own like thinking, right? And so yeah, so having that opportunity where you can pause a bit, you know, and it's okay to, you know, to breathe and to have that gap, right? And to really also give you an opportunity to say, let me not, you know, jump onto asking questions, you know, to fill in the gaps, but to give them a moment to reflect, right? And also that gives you a moment, you know, to listen and to prepare the follow-up question that will help you, right? Because as I said, this thing is like a funnel, right? You start at this level where pretty much anything could go in terms of the response of the questions. And as you go deeper and as you engage further and further, right, you want to be able to get to the root cause and be like, okay, cool. You know why these customers are dismissing the subscription, you know, newsletter, or you know why, you know, this you know, baby comes, you know, why this baby keeps coming back, you know, with a wound from the park, right? Instead of you just, you know, like responding by wrapping up their hands. So yeah, and then there's that, right? And also the question really is, when you look at our design delivery process, right, I want you to reflect on the opportunities for us to probe deeper, right? From understanding, you know, our customers, businesses, you know, technical, you know, capability, understand, you know, and exploring, you know, possible solutions when you ideate. Also, when you're like doing your competitor or experience analysis, looking at different companies, how they do things, have, you know, those questions, right? Why did they do this? Why did they solve this problem this way, right? What is it that I can learn? What is it that I can pick, right? What is it that I feel like is not great enough, right? I mean, not because you can look at big companies like Uber, Apple, you know, Airbnb, etc., right? There's stuff that they also haven't done great, I was talking to Bumi earlier about Apple, the idea of having an Apple ID, because they wanted to implement an omnichannel experience, and they started socializing the concept, and it ended up being a, you know, a thing. And instead of just solving the problem, so that customers understand that they can log in from a MacBook, to an iPad device, to their smartphone, smartwatch, etc. Right? They created a concept called Apple ID, which was actually not a great approach, right? Technically, that was great in terms of providing that on-channel experience, so that you're able to log in and have your devices talking to one another, right? But yeah, that's like one example that is like coming, from my mind right now. But as I said, right, there's those whys are applicable in our conversations. Those whys are applicable in what we assess as being great experience or bad experience, and also being able to ask yourself, those questions a number of times throughout, the design delivery process, from ideating into, because you're gonna diverge and converge at some point, right? Asking yourselves those questions will also help you to become a better designer, because it's not just about understanding that so that you can get the right direction, but it's also being able to eliminate, a number of possible solutions. But yeah, let me pause here and say thanks a lot, Davis. Yeah, it was great to have you. I know it was the first session, but yeah, I feel like it went great. And also thanks to everyone that has joined, and Lindokuhle Mahlangu from FNB, Miracle from Nigeria, yeah, and everyone else. So please, guys, reach out if you want to present a topic. We can talk about it and contribute and inspire the African design community. Thanks a lot. Let me say cheers.
Thank you, Davis.
Thank you, Davis. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, everyone.
Cool. Cheers, guys.